Hi, I'm Zink Dee, and I'm glad that you're joining me today. Throughout the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be releasing a series of videos that are designed to help you with some tips on taking your guitar playing and your guitar knowledge to the next level. Obviously, to get better at the guitar, it takes time and it takes practice. There's no two ways about it. But if you have knowledge and you do things in an intelligent way, I think that you can shave off some time from the noodling and the stumbling phase and get where you want to be in a reasonable amount of time. I've heard from many guitar players, guitar students, all sort of resistance to the learning phase of playing guitar. Guys that'll say, oh, I can't read music, and I don't want to read music because anything that I want to play I can get from tabs. Or, I don't want to know theory. I don't know any theory. I don't want to know any of the modes because it'll take the edge off of my playing. But honestly, I've never met a guitarist who's a good fluent reader, who knows theory and modes cold. Never heard somebody like that say, man, I wish I'd have never learned how to read music. I wish I'd have never wasted my time with the modes. It's so limiting to my playing. Usually those kinds of things are just kind of a prideful ignorance thing that guitar players who are almost afraid that they can't do it, are going to say. I think that it takes a certain amount of competence to get past the point where someone can say that they're past the beginning stage. It doesn't mean that you have to read music. It doesn't mean that you have to know all the modes. But it has to do with the confidence that you're playing. Once you have confidence in what you're playing, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be right. But you're going to play it with a little bit different of a character. And it's that confidence that's going to make somebody sound better than if they play timidly, if they play like they don't quite know what's about to happen. So I really want to help with the confidence factor. So one of the things that's going to help your confidence is understanding the layout of the guitar. How's it organized? Where are the notes? What kind of patterns are on the guitar? What kind of patterns am I listening for? What kind of patterns am I looking for? What are my fingers doing? That's all going to have to do with confidence. I don't know if you play the piano at all, but bear with me here if you don't. I can show somebody the layout of the piano in 30 seconds. I can say, okay, you got all these white keys, you got all the black keys. The black keys are organized in groups of 3 and in groups of 2. And then the next octave, the groups of 3 and in groups of 2. And then identify the letter names of the notes based on those 3s and 2s. Somebody that's never touched a piano before all of a sudden knows how to find every note on the piano. And it took 30 seconds. So let me ask you, how long have you been playing guitar? 30 seconds? 30 minutes? 30 days? 30 years? Can you do that? Can you just find any note that's all over the neck, just drop yourself randomly and know what it is? Because if you can't, well, you feel like you can't, and you're going to feel like there's something that you just don't know. Maybe you don't even feel worthy of playing because you don't know all that you think you're supposed to know. So first thing that I want to do is show you a roadmap to where all the notes are on the guitar. We're going to work off of a little chart that I came up with, and I'll show you the roadmap to find all the notes on the neck of the guitar, and you'll understand how it's laid out. Okay, so here's a rudimentary chart that I came up with. It's just a grid of the guitar neck. I didn't put any fret markers or anything like that on it, but hopefully you can see that the frets are going to get smaller as it gets further up the neck, just like a real guitar does. And we're going to use this to find the roadmap, this logical roadmap to the notes on the guitar. So we'll start with orange. It's my favorite color. So let's pick a note on the guitar. Let's say Let's take a G, because you probably know where a lot of the G's are anyway. So when you think of a G, the note G, where is it on the guitar? Where's the first one that you come to? Where's the first G that you think of? There's no right or wrong answer to this. You could think of a G, 3rd fret on the 6th string, and you're looking at this like it's tablature. The 1st string closest to the floor is at the top, the 6th string, the fat string, the low string closest to you when you're playing is on the bottom. So just like tablature, this is where it is. So you might think of a G as being here, the 3rd fret on the 6th string, just because that's where you play the power chord G. Maybe you learned how to read music and you remember from the 1st string E, F, G, and you remember that G. That might be your first G that you're remembering. You know, that's all good. Or you know the notes, the open strings of the guitar, and you know that there's a G right here. That's all good too. Or maybe there's something up here that you think of as a G. Really doesn't matter. It's all good. The more ways that you know to find G, the better. But I'm going to show you just starting here. We're going to take this note, the 3rd fret on the 6th string, G. So there's our first G. Now what we're going to do is find every G on the neck going this way. So it doesn't matter what string it's on, what octave it's on, we're just going to be going this way. So from here, the next G on the neck would be an octave. So 2 strings over, the D string, and 2 frets up. So 2 and 2, this little square right here, this is the next G. So now we've got 2 places that we know G. So from this one, the 4th string, 5th fret, the next G going this way is an octave above this. So we go 2 strings over, and now we end up on the 2nd string, so we have to go 3 frets higher because we have to add an extra fret because of that crazy tuning thing back here. So we go two strings over, and then 1, 2, 3 frets higher. So this is a G. Let's make this one purple. So here's a G right here on the 10th fret. Now we got 3 G's. The next one going this way is going to be, let's see, 3 strings over and 2 frets up. 1, 2 frets up, 1, 2, 3, right here. So that's our next G. We'll make that one blue. Then our next G from here is going to be up an octave. So we go 2 over, 2 up, right here. We'll make this one green. And that would be the 12th fret. So on your guitar, if we're finding G's, this is going to be the double dots. This is the 12th fret. And the reason that we got the double dots is because whatever the note was open repeats again up at the 12th fret. So that's what the double dots are real significant for. The next G this way on the neck is going to be the octave above this. So again, we're crossing the 2nd string, so we have to add a fret. So we're going to go 2 strings over, and instead of 2 frets up, we have to go 3 frets up because that 2nd string makes us add another fret. So we'll do this one in brown. And now I am on the 15th fret. So this fret, whatever this one is, also is going to duplicate right here. And this is now an octave above where we started. And that's the pattern. That's the roadmap. So let me just fill a couple more of these in. So this one here is going to be the same thing as this. I'm going to go backwards now. The G, the open G, 12 frets below the fretted one is green. That's going to be right here, open G. Am I missing any? I think that's it. So what we've got now is at least one G on every string. If we're on the 6th string, we have at the 3rd fret, 15th fret. 1st string, we have at the 3rd fret, the 15th fret. If we're on the 5th string, there's one on the 10th fret. The 4th string, there's a G at the 5th fret, and that, by the way, is how you tune. The 5th fret sounds like the open. So the 4th string has a G at the 5th fret. Then we go to the 3rd string, there is a G open, and then consequently there's a G on the 12th fret. The 2nd string, the G is on the 8th fret. And then we go to the 1st string, which we've already done. The G is on the 3rd fret and the 15th fret. This is the roadmap. This is how every note is identified. So you find it by octaves. So you start with your go-to. Whichever one that you started with is fine. This pattern always repeats. It's always going to be circular. It never ends until you run out of frets, basically. So you can start it anywhere. You can drop yourself on any string and find yourself in the pattern. So if you know a G, when I asked you at the beginning, where's the G that you think of first? Whatever string that is, let's say that you know the 3rd string, because it's open. All right, well then you'd start right here in the pattern. And you'd have gone from here, up the octave, 2 over, 3 up, all the way over to the 6th string, up the octave, 2 over, 2 up, to the 4th string, up the octave, 2 over, 3 up, because it's the 2nd string, so now we're on the 8th fret. The next G going this way is on the 5th string, so it's up 2 frets over 3 strings, and now that is the next G. Then we go to the octave above that, 2 over, 2 up, so that's the 12th fret on the 3rd string, and that's where we started. But you can keep the pattern going. You've got 2 over and 3 up. Then you've got the one on the 6th string. You got 2 over, 2 up. Now I'm out of frets on my chart, but they're going to continue. So no matter where you are on this roadmap, no matter where you're comfortable, you can throw yourself or drop yourself in it and find your way. And that's going to be every occurrence of that same note all over the neck. And that's every one of them, unless you've got, more frets up there to keep track of. So what I'd like you to do now that you've got this roadmap is take some time and just play some notes. Figure out where your go-to is for a handful of notes. Maybe write them down or just randomly come up with them. C, B flat, F sharp, A, D. Where is your go-to for every one of those notes? And once you find your go-to, then slowly but deliberately work your way through that roadmap so that you identify all the notes. So at first, you'll probably be remembering the fret and string relationships. You go to this one, over 2, up 2, over 2, up 3, back to this one. And so it's going to become almost more of a muscle memory kind of a thing. It won't be a knowing the notes. It'll be muscle memory that you get yourself around. So once you've gone through this and found a couple of notes and you get this pattern, what I'd like you to do is now take some time and be very mindful of each one of these notes. And do it this way. So let's go back and use G as our example. So you find your first G, your go-to G, right here, or wherever it is. And before you move on, instead of moving on, what I want you to do is ask yourself, how do I know that that's a G? And I mean, how do I already know it? You already know that that's a G. How? Well, it could be because that's where you play a G chord. It could be because that's where you play a G power chord. It could be that that's just the 3rd fret and you just know G. Could be because it's below this one. There could be any number of reasons how and why you already know that that's G, but I want you to come up with it. I want you to figure that out. What's your connection to that note being G? When you have it, then you move on. You go 2 over, 2 up. Now you're on the 4th string, 5th fret. There's a G. Before you go any further, ask yourself, how do you know that already? How do I know already that this is a G? You might know it because you can figure it out from the open D string, D, E, F, G. You might know it because of the tuning that I talked about a little bit earlier, that this string at this fret is the same note as the G, open string G. You may know it just because it's the octave above the 6th string, 3rd fret. That's possibly the easiest way to know it, is because it's just an octave above where you started. Okay, great. That's the reason. That's the connection that you already have, why you already know that that's a G. Okay, so then you go to the next one. 2 strings over, 3 frets up. So I'm on the 2nd string, 8th fret. How do you already know that that's a G? How would you know that? Well, because maybe if you work from the B, the 12th fret, you work your way back. That's B. 2 frets lower would be A. 2 frets lower would be G. Okay, that's one way to know it. It could be that it's 5 frets above this last G here, and so that and that are going to sound the same. It could be if you know the 5th fret is E, E, F, F sharp, G. You might figure it out that way. Again, the simplest, most obvious way could be that you're here and it's an octave above that. That could be your connection. And that's important. And it's important to know how you think of it so that you know it already and you realize that you know it already. Again, we're going after the confidence here. So then we go from 8th fret on the 2nd string to the next G, which is going to be the 10th fret on the 5th string. How do you already know that that's a G? Maybe you play a 5th string power chord on G all the way up here, or at least you have. Maybe you know that that's 2 frets below an A, because at the 12th fret, that's an A all over again. It's the A string, so 2 frets lower is a G. It could be that you know that this is G because 5 frets back, it sounds like this one here. So you know this is G, this is going to be the same note. You might find that it's G because it's an octave below the 12th fret on the 3rd string G. So now you're going backwards. You're saying, okay, well, this is G, so then back here. But you know it somehow. There's a way that you've got that you figured it out already. You just have to find it again. So next one, you go up 2, up 2. Here's your G, 12th fret, 3rd string. How do you already know that that's a G? Could be because it's the 12th fret. It's the G string. It's just an octave above the open, so that's G. Could be because it's an octave above where we just were. It could be because it's an octave below this G. 2 over and 3 up. It could be that this G and this G on the 8th fret of the 2nd string are going to sound the same. I don't know. I don't know what your connection is. Everybody's going to have a different connection and a reason for explaining how they already know what note something is. That's what I want you to find. So for this confidence, I want you to be really sure that you know these notes because you've identified the way that you think of it. The act of the process of going through that thinking to make that connection, it'll get easier the more you do it. You'll get faster at it. The connections are going to be made much, much quicker and much more confidently. So here's how I want you to do this. For now, you could do a couple more of these, but the whole idea of going through how you already know a note takes a little bit of time. So we've already done, quite a bit for right now. But for tomorrow or for the next practice session today, what I'd like you to do is 5 of these. Choose 5 notes. 5 notes, go all the way through the roadmap, and then when you go through the roadmap, stop on every note, or go back and stop on every note and tell yourself how you already know that note so that you can really clarify, I do know it. It's not that I'm guessing. It's not that I maybe haven't thought of it that way before, but I know it. And you've got to start to believe that. I think that a lot of guitar players that play at a higher level, yeah, they're good. They've got technique, they've got chops, but they're also making connections on the fly, lightning speed, and many, many, many connections. Every note that they play, they could have 3, 4, 5, 10 different connections that they're thinking of at any given time to play that one note, and they're already off to the other one. So I think that high-level players just make really fast connections. And that's what I want you to do. And I think that doing something like this is your first step. All right, so I want you to enjoy this, have fun with it. It's the journey. That's what's the enjoyable part. There's no getting there. There's just the journey. Because as soon as you get to the next step, you're going to find somewhere else that you want to be. The grass is always greener. So enjoy this journey, enjoy this process, and congratulate yourself on getting this far. This is pretty cool. All right, so thanks for watching, and keep on going and enjoy the journey.